So in this video, we're going to use the slope formula to find the slope. Okay, we've used rise over run on the graph to find slope. We've talked about slope as a rate of change. Okay, and this video, we're going to introduce the slope formula that you're going to use a lot throughout the rest of your math classes, and we're going to find the slope that way. All right, so first off, let's define the slope again. So the slope of a line is the ratio of rise to run for any 2 points on a line. Okay, we could also say it's the ratio of the difference between the y coordinates and the difference between the x coordinates. And that's really how we develop the slope formula here. So in our previous video, we talked about slope. We used the variable m for slope, and it was rise over run. Okay, we also said it was change in y over change in x. Okay, so now from this change in y over change in x, we're going to develop this. So it's y with a subnotation here of 2, or a subscript of 2, minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what that means, we're going to take the y coordinate of the second point, and we're going to subtract from it the y coordinate of the first point, and we're going to be consistent in the denominator. Okay, in the denominator, we're going to take the x coordinate of the second point and subtract from that the x coordinate of the first point. Okay. It doesn't matter what you consider the first point or the second point, really, just as long as you're consistent between what you start with in the numerator and what you start with in the denominator, okay? So let's do a couple example problems here. We want to find the slope of the line that contains the following 2 points. So 5, negative 1, okay? We can call that point 1 here if you want to, because it comes first, and the point 0, comma 3, all right? So first off, I'm going to call 5, negative 1 the x sub 1 is 5, the y sub 1 is negative 1, okay? So the x coordinate of the first point is 5, the y coordinate of the first point is negative 1, okay? So it should make sense then that the x coordinate of the second point would be the 0 here, and the y coordinate of the second point would be 3, all right? So we know these values now, x1, y1, x2, y2, and we're going to plug those into our formula here, okay? So remember, we've got the slope formula, so let's plug those values in. So notice the y coordinate of the second point, we're going to subtract from that the y coordinate of the first point. So we should use 3 minus negative 1, okay? And that's what we've got here, 3 minus a negative 1. Okay. In the denominator, we want to subtract our x's, but we want to go in the same order, all right? So because we started with 3 in the numerator, we've got to start with the x coordinate for that point in the denominator. So the denominator should be x2 or 0 minus x1 or 5, okay? So 0 minus 5, all right? So now we want to clean these up. In the numerator, I've got these back-to-back negative signs here. So remember, 3 minus a negative 1 becomes 3 plus 1. I haven't done anything to the denominator yet. Now let's combine both numerators and denominators, okay? That gives us 4 over negative 5, okay? Now, we don't ever want to have a negative value in the denominator, so we're just going to, a positive 4 divided by a negative 5 is just going to be a negative 4/5, okay? So remember, slope is a ratio, so we're going to leave that as a fraction, okay? Slope always needs those two components, the rise, which in this case would be negative 4, and the run, which would be positive 5, all right? So the slope of the line that has these 2 points is negative 4/5, okay? If you want to check that, you can plot these 2 points and draw the line, and then you can do the rise over run triangle like we did in the last section. Okay? All right, let's do problem 2. We want to find the slope of the line that contains the following 2 points, 2 and negative 10, and then 3, negative 7. All right? So first thing, we're going to say x1, y1 is going to be this 2, negative 10. The second point, 3, negative 7, that's going to be my x2, my y2. All right, and I want to plug those into my formula. Okay, so we've got the formula again. This is my y2, so I'm going to plug that in here. So negative 7 is going to go here, and negative 10 is going to go here. All right, same thing with my x's. x2 minus x1, so my denominator should be 3 minus 2. Okay, so we want to clean up the numerator there. We got the back-to-back negatives again, so that's going to be negative 7 plus 10, okay, which simplifies to positive 3 over positive 1. So this slope is considered 3. Now, I still wrote it as a ratio. Even if you get a whole number or an integer for the slope, I always suggest that you write it as a ratio because remember we've got the rise component and the run component that we need to be aware of. Okay, so that's how you use the slope formula to find the slope if you're given 2 points.